So welcome to our introduction class today about business data analytics. So our today's lesson, we are going to go through the introduction to business data analytics first. And we are going to go through first the course outline of what we are supposed to cover through this unit. We also discuss a few theory part about this new subject. So business data analytics is a computer-based exam. That simply means that it is an exam that is done purely in computers. So that is, you are not given any paper when you are taking this exam. So the exam is loaded on the examination portal. And once you log in to the portal, you access the exam, both the theory part and the practical part. So our today's lesson, first, we are going to see what is really required for you to do this paper. So number one, a candidate must be very proficient in computers. That is the use of technology. And this is something that I'm really encouraging students, especially those who are taking it online. It is very, very important to be very proficient. We are not sure how your capability on how you handle computers. That one you are not very sure as compared to physical classes, where sometimes we can at least notice some errors that students are taking or are doing, and you are able to help them. So if you can really make to come or to attend a class, one physical class, at least one, then it will be very, very good for you so that we can actually know whether you are really in the right track. So this unit is divided into two parts. Part number one is the theory part. And this theory part involves first the introduction to Excel, which Excel is one of the tools that is used in data analysis. So the Excel, the normal program Excel you have been using, probably you have used this program in a number of places. But now, the Excel that is tested here is the advanced level of Excel, because we are going to see how you use this, or you process, you analyze data using the advanced tools in Excel. So the Excel that you are supposed to have, at least you're supposed to have version 2010 and above, and if possible, at least 20 from 2013 and above, because these are the version that has now the tools that you really need when you are doing this analysis. So we will see the weaknesses of the lower version as compared to the higher version. So the first part is all about the introduction to Excel. We're also going to discuss about introduction to data analytics. That is something that we are going to do today. To this, we see what is data analytics, why data analytics, and why data analytics is used. So that is the first part. And the first section, the second section, these are sections that are tested theory. That is section 1 and chapter 2. Those are the theory part that are tested in this exam. Every content in those two chapters, that is starting from the introduction to Excel, introduction to data analytics, the big data and the data analysis, the concept of tools for data analysis and data visualization. Those are the concepts that are tested in the theory part. So that is when I'm referring to theory part, I can show you here using one of those papers that has been done. The section A of this paper, that is section 1, it has questions from question 1 up to 20. And these questions are theory with the multiple choices. And that is what section 1 and section 2 is all about. That is the theory part, the theory section of this part. Then The practical part start from chapter 3. And this now shows the application of data analysis, especially in financial accounting and reporting systems. That is what you did previously in your previous sections. Then application of this again in financial management, that is you did there previously. That is all the concept we'll discuss here are the concept that you did previously. So it's just the application of this now using Excel. Then the fourth part, application in management accounting and auditing and taxation. And now this one is where the practical part is now involved. That is in our paper, after doing the whole section 1, we said it is up to question 20. So this, you're supposed to do them very, very fast. Now, when you come to question 21, that is where the practical part starts, section 2. And all the content you'll find here is the concept of those previously done chapters. But now you are supposed to prepare this, which is already prepared for you. It's only working out by preparing a spreadsheet. So to prepare a spreadsheet here means that you are going to tackle this question in Excel. So meaning that you should not do away with those formulas that you did there in advanced financial management. They should be very, very, very clear in your mind, because they are again used here to do data analysis. So section 2 has 3 questions. That is question 21, question 22, and question 23. All of them you're supposed to do them in Excel. So that is that is the course outline and what is required for you in this paper. So I hope that one is clear. And that is what you'll be doing. We'll go through that. So, and since from this past paper, you'll find that section 2 has more marks than section A. It has more marks because it has 60 marks. Section 1 has only 40 marks. So we will take much time here because this is where most students actually find some challenges, especially those who are very, very slow in computers. So I believe there are some people who are taking this unit and they are very poor in computers. I know there are others who are not so poor, but we are going to take or to see whether we can balance that. So the only way we can solve this is first going through the basic computer concept, especially Excel. We will start from basic Excel. And basic Excel, it means I have already prepared some exercises that is supposed to cover through what Excel is all about first and how Excel works. Because how you work this when you are doing it practically is different from the way you work it in Excel. Excel has its own way of producing out the information after processing. So that is what you're supposed to know, the application of this in Excel. So we are going to start from the introduction to business analytics so that as we go through, then you understand what we are referring to. So with your pen and a paper, then you can write that data analytics in business, data analytics in business. So what do we mean by this? So we say that analysis is something that you have done throughout the course in accounting. Actually, everything you have done there in the previous chapters include data analysis. So that means analysis of data is a very vital part in running a successful business. So that is one thing that you should note, that for a business to be successful, you have to do analysis. You have to do a lot of analysis. So when data is used effectively, then it will lead to better understanding of business, previous performances, and better decision making for its future activities. So why do you have to do data analysis? In business, it is very vital because you cannot actually understand your business previous performances if you don't have data. You cannot make informed decision if you don't have data. So that means it is very, very useful to have the data, because actually what you did previously, it was all about data processing. Because if you are to engage in a project, for example, it is always important to understand, is this project really viable or not? If it is not viable, what will help you know that the project is not viable? You have to do data analysis. And once you do this, then you can engage to a project. So then we say that data analytics is that practice of examining data, the practice of examining data, so that you can answer the questions, you can identify the trends, you can extract insights. That is what data analytics is all about. That practice of examining the data so that you'll be able to understand your business in a deeper perspective. So when this data analytics is done in business, then it is often referred to as business analytics. And that's why our course is referred to as business and data analytics, because we do both business and general data analytics. So business analytics then is that process of using those quantitative methods to derive the meaning and make informed decisions. So that is the whole concept about data analytics is all about. So data analytics is normally done with so many tools. We have so many tools, and actually the examiner or CASNEP, they have actually given those tools. If you check on the course outline, there's somewhere they have highlighted the tools that we use in data analytics. It's not only Excel. We have other powerful tools that you can also use, which include the Power BI, the Tableau, the Microsoft Strategy. These are softwares that has ever since being used to do data analysis. That is, when you have big volume of data, you can engage these products and they will help you to analyze the data. They help you to visualize the data and gives out clear information that is necessary for decision making. So some of the tools that we use to do data analysis. So with that, Excel is one of them. Excel is readily available. That way it is even preferred here because it is readily available and it is actually in most organizations. So in data analysis, then there are four primary methods. Four primary methods of data analytics. We can say these are methods of data analytics or business analytics. The four of these, we have descriptive data analytics, diagnostic data analytics, prescriptive and predictive and prescriptive. So when you talk of descriptive analytics, then we are referring to what? Descriptive analytics, this is the simplest. It is the simplest form of analytics, and it is the foundation in which all the others are built on. That is, you always start from here. They follow in that order, that once you have to know what happened that the business made loss, what happened that the business made profit. That is, this tries to answer that question, that what happened. When you are running this analysis, it will help you to summarize all the past data and give out information that will help you understand what is happening in your business. So that means you do what? You interpret the historical data so that you can identify the trends and the patterns. So, and descriptive analysis, with all the tools that you use in descriptive analysis, include the simple functions, like the running of average, that is central tendency. You did this one in QA. We have the measure of dispersion, the measure of skewness. All these will help you to identify these trends. It will help you to understand the current situation of your business. So that is the first form of data analytics. The second one is diagnostic analytics. And this diagnostic analytics, this normally addresses the next logical question. That is, why did this happen? So that once you know what happened, then you have to ask yourself, why did it happen? And to answer this question, then you have to run this diagnostic analysis. That is to cross-check your data and you understand why a particular reason happened. So if you made profit, then it is important to scrutinize the data and know and you identify why or which aspect of business you did so that you make those profits. So it is important to understand. And we have various tools that you use. You have done those tools there previously that will help you to understand why a specific thing happened. So this question or this data analytics analyzes the next, or it helps to analyze the business step further because it will help you to compare the coexisting trends and movements to uncover correlation between variables and determine whether there is any relationship and whether there is a possible relationship. So that is the diagnostic analysis. Now, practically, we will be extracting those tools from different aspects, starting from what you did in QA, what you did in financial management, what you did even in advanced financial management. And from there, we will just identify certain tools that will help us do this analysis. So, and the third analytical tool is predictive analysis. This predictive analysis is normally used to forecast for future outcome. Forecast for future outcome. That is, we can say that the predictive analysis, this is normally used to make prediction about the future trends or events. And it helps to answer the question, what might happen in future? What might happen in future? So by analyzing the historical data, then industries and with industry trend, then you can make informed predictions about what the future holds in your company. So, and again, we'll find several tools that will help us do this. So before you proceed, now, when you are using Excel, I hope you have Excel there. And we said because our today's lesson was theory, the next class, our setting will be different. So we will have an interactive session where we will do it via Zoom. We will have to use the team viewer if possible. And you need to download other softwares like AnyDesk so that in case you have a problem, we can already have an assistant. You can connect through to your machine and help to troubleshoot in case of a problem. So the Excel you are having, is important to log in to the Zoom, the link you are given using your mobile phone. I would prefer that you log in using your mobile phone, not your computer. Then you use your computer to do the working. So that is the easiest way. For the online student, it will be better that way. So I hope you have opened your Excel application with you. And we are going to simply display some of this. Excel is one of the programs that has so many functions, some of which probably they are unutilized. But now when it comes to big data, when you want to compress big data, then you'll find that it will be very, very necessary to understand these Excel functions and the formulas used in Excel. So when you click on the data tab, I hope you have opened Excel there. When you click on the data tab, the Excel will always gives you the tools that you need for data analysis. That is in that data tab. And we have other tabs, of course. We have the home tab that you use basic formatting, the insert tab where you can insert charts and tables. That one you will do it practically. We have the page layout that will help you to set up the page, because finally when you finish everything, probably you'll be required to print out the reports. So then it means that you have to set up your Excel so that when you print, then whatever you print can fit on the paper. We have the formulas. That is where you engage so many formulas. You actually find as many formulas as possible. Here they have been categorized. We have formulas for finances, formulas that are logical. We have text formulas. We have the lookup and reference formulas. And specifically in this paper, you'll find that the lookup and reference formulas are highly tested. The same case with finance formulas are highly tested. And we are going to see this because this is the basis of this paper, because it's all about finance. So, and we are going to scrutinize the most common functions that you require when you are doing data analysis. And as you scroll down, you'll find even some of those functions you did there previously, like the future value, like the PMT functions, like the internal rate of return. You did this one in advanced financial management. We have formulas like NPV that you did again there. So that means the same NPV you did, then you can do it now here in Excel in a more proficient manner, because Excel will give you an easier way of analyzing the data without wasting a lot of time. And you do analyze a big volume of data. So that is the first part. Then when you click on the data tab, that was my point of interest, because it is both working with the formulas and working with the data. Then if you check very well, this application, especially the Microsoft products, every tab will be divided into groups. Like the data tab is divided into first group, referred to as get and transform data. The next group is query and connections. And if you check very well from our course outline, you'll find that we have some application of queries. Though we are going to discuss them in a theory way, but they also help you to understand why do we have queries in Excel? And we have data management tools. Queries are some of these. So that means in Excel, it can help you to query. Query is like to ask questions to the data, to the big data. Then we have another group called sort and filter. And that group will help you to sort your data, to filter the data. That is common in Excel. It has been used for so many times. Then we also have the tools that we use to validate. If you check very well, again, in our course outline, you'll find the concept of data validation, because sometimes data may come with errors. It is always important to validate data before you start actually giving out the report. You have to validate this data. That way we have data tools. And here under data tools, you'll find several tools that we use in validation. It is a concept here in data analytics. Then after that group, the next group is now the forecast group. So under that forecast group, we have the tools that we use to do simple analysis. Probably you did scenario analysis in advanced financial management. Again, now we will do it in a different way, because the way Excel works probably will be different the way you work it out on the piece of paper. So, and the language might change a little bit, because when you talk of the break-even analysis, that is a concept you do in advanced financial management. There is nothing you'll find here about break-even. But the tool that we use to do that is the goal seek, because to break even is actually to find the goal. That is, you have the goal, you want to see how you can reach that goal. And that tool will help you to actually do that. And that is another tool that we are going to use. So that means in this data tab is where all our working, most of our working will be actually engaged in. So then if you check in your program, you will find that probably your program don't have this, especially those people who are online. I'm very sure that it does not have the analyze group. That means you have to adjust your program so that it will have that added tool about data analysis. Because here, again, you'll find other tools that are very necessary. Like in the previous question that was done in the last sitting, they brought a question about regression analysis. That is something you did in quantitative analysis. So how do you add that? So to add this, it's very easy because first you have to adjust your Excel program. So you click on the File tab. I hope you are there. Then you select more options. If you are using a higher version of Excel, of course, if you're using Excel 2010, you'll find options down here. So you can click Option tab. It's supposed to produce a dialog box that resembles this. So that dialog box is the one that will help you to adjust your Excel application so that it can do those higher data analysis. It can have more data analysis tools. And under these Excel options, then you are going to choose the add-ins. Add-ins. So you click on the add-ins command. When you click add-ins command, then you'll find we have so many tools here that are inactive. That means you have to make them active. And one of the tools that you have to make active is what we call the analysis tool pack. That analysis tool pack, you have to select it so that you make it active. So how do you make it active? Once you select the analysis tool pack here, then down here, you'll find the command manage. Manage Excel add-ins, you click go. When you click go, then you'll find a small dialog box, that is add-in dialog box, that you have the analysis tool pack. So you activate analysis tool pack. You also activate the solver add-in, And once you do that, you can now click OK. You can also activate all of them, then click OK. Immediately you do that, you add that analysis tool pack. And that is very, very necessary because some of the tools that you're going to analyze here, they are not under formulas. There is no any formula utapata hapo ya kufanya correlation or regression analysis. There is no any formula here you'll find that you'll do that. But when you click on that data tab, then you select data analysis, then it will provide that data analysis tools that has all the tools that you use to do those analysis commands like correlation, like ANOVA, and all those functions that you are required to use during data analysis. So that means you have to adjust your Excel a little bit. So Excel is very powerful because it has all those tools that you need to do data analysis. So, and once you add this, then you'll be good to go. So that is just a small part of it. So as we wind up with this, the first part, we said we have four. We have four primary data analytics method. We did the first three. Predictive, we say, is normally meant to predict the future. So by analyzing the historical data, we're able to predict the future, inform decisions. So some of those data analytics tools that we have found there will help you to do prediction of the future. So when do you run these analyses? Where do you run them? So if you are told to predict about the future, then you're supposed to know which specific tool will you use here in this tool pack. So that is why you need those. Again, under the what if analysis, you also find all these will help you to predict. They are predictive. They help you to predict the future because when you are doing the break-even analysis, is a way of prediction. When you're doing the sensitivity analysis, the scenario analysis is a way of prediction because we are actually using certain scenarios to predict the future. So that is why those tools are very necessary. Then the last one is prescriptive analysis. Prescriptive analysis answers the question, what should be done? What should we do next? That is, once we have understand what happened, what is supposed, why this happened, we need again to know what need to be done. So this prescriptive analysis that will help you to eliminate future analysis of data, that once we do this, then you'll be able to. So the prescriptive analysis takes into account all possible factors in a scenario and suggests actionable takeaways. So this type of analysis can be especially be useful when making data-driven decisions. So it is very necessary to run this prescriptive analysis. Actually, you'll find most of the question we have we tackle here, especially in section 2, checks more about the scenarios. Like if you check some of these questions, this was a pilot paper. The scenario analysis was actually repeated in almost all the 3 papers. So this, like this question, we are given some scenarios. Is the current situation, that is, you have the base here, the base. We are given the base. Then after the base, we are given the 3 scenarios. Then from those 3 scenarios, you are supposed to work out something. That was the first question. Then when you move to the next question again, you will find after running this, that was the last question, you are again given other scenarios in the last question. That is, after working out with all of these, then you are given 3 scenarios again. That is, you are given this. This is what is happening now. It is currently what is there. What if the 3 scenarios existed? What will happen? You're supposed to present that now in Excel. You're supposed to show that if the investment was like this, if it was like this, what could be the outcome? That is, you find that the scenario is something that has been repeated several times. So, and it is actually applied in all those questions that you're going to do. The 2 papers that has been done actually tested the same thing. So that is the 3, those are the 4, they are the 4 primary data analytics methods. So you have those primary methods. Sometimes you'll find that in the theory paper, they also ask the same, but not in a theory way. For example, one question here was asking to explain the order in which these analyses are formed. In which order? In which order? Like you can see here, all these statements you are given here, you are supposed to explain whether they are true or false. Is descriptive like this? You say whether it is true or false. Is prescriptive like this? Then you say whether it is true or false. That means you are supposed to master this analysis about what, another analysis about what, so that you'll be able to tackle some questions like this. Sometimes you can also be told to rank them. How do you rank them? We say that you cannot start with a predictive. You have to start with descriptive analysis, because we say this is actually, it is actually where all other analyses are based on. You have to know what happened first before you discuss why it happened. So that way you need to actually arrange them in that order. So that is our first part. And today we are going to actually reach there for that theory section. So the next part, we'll discuss about the theory about big data. That will be in our next lesson. So we'll be breaking our lesson into 2 parts so that we'll be able to cover the syllabus. So the first part will be the theory, tunaanza na theory for like 30 minutes. Then the other remaining time, tunafanya practical. So because practical is actually very necessary here. So, and the practical that you're going to do is the first part that we found here in our course outline, the introduction to Excel. So we are going to actually go through this, and it will help us that in our next lesson now we'll do it practically, and we'll be now working on worksheets. So kwa hivyo in the book, in front, utaandikia the theory part, at the back, the practical part. So tutazidivide hivyo. So, and how do we handle this? So we actually discuss the concept of the Excel starting from the beginning. So where does this concept of Excel starts? So it starts from something we call spreadsheet. So if somewhere maybe in your book, you can write that spreadsheet. What do you mean by spreadsheet, and why spreadsheet? Spreadsheet is a term that has been used ever since. Even before the advent of computers, the spreadsheet was still there. Because the spreadsheet is actually the way of organizing data for easy access and retrieval. So the spreadsheet can then be classified in two. We have the manual spreadsheet, that is when you do this, when you keep your record on the paper, on the books, that is manual spreadsheet. But the spreadsheet that you'll be using here is electronic. Electronic spreadsheets are done using computer applications. So I know some of these applications that you use here, Excel is one of them. But again, I also want us to see the others. So they will not be tested by CASNEP. And why do we actually regard this as spreadsheets? And again, why are they used in data analysis? Like we have Power BI, which if you do it in higher learning, especially in computer science, then this Power BI is used instead of Excel. Why? Because just like Excel, it can connect with Excel, it can extract data from Excel, it can export data from Excel, but it has more powerful tools to do visualization. So meaning, we'll compare several programs and see why actually we regard them to this. So they have those facilities that you need for you to perform calculations, to prepare reports, to create charts, to enter the daily transaction of the business. That is the spreadsheet programs. So we are not actually going to check on much of this, but the spreadsheet, especially the electronic spreadsheet, is divided into the three components. The three components here, that includes the worksheet, the database, and the graphs. That is, by the end of any analysis, you have to first understand the worksheet. You have to create a worksheet. In that worksheet, you must enter in the data. You have to do data analysis. You have to manipulate the data through formulas, through functions. You have to sort the data, filter the data, and you have to visualize your work. Visualization is that concept of converting that data that is in form of text, in form of numbers, into a form that is easy to understand. That is by forming the graphs. So that is the three components. That is by the end of actually in these questions, that is what you do. You download a worksheet. CASNEP will actually prepare this worksheet for you. So that one you should be guaranteed that you're not going to type this data. The data is already typed for you. This data is already prepared in the worksheet, the same way it is here on this paper. So your work is to extract whatever you are given from this set. So extracting what? What you are told to extract. So if you are told to do what? Prepare a worksheet showing what? That forecast statement of profit for the next 3 years. You don't interfere with this set. But below this set, you extract. How do you extract? You have to use Excel power to extract that data. Not to type again. When you are typing again, it shows that you never attended the class. Because Excel has a way of extracting that data from above there and now bringing it down where you want it, either in another worksheet or on the same worksheet, but below that. So you are supposed to extract from there using referencing, using Excel referencing. So when you do that, then you'll be using the power of Excel to make your work easier. Because when you do the first year, for example, because you are told for the 3 years, then the other years you just copy down. It makes your work so easy. You just prepare for the first year. Then all the other years, Excel will just do it for you. So, and that is why you're supposed to, how you're supposed to present your work. So when you're using the worksheet, then if you understand well how to work with the worksheet, then it will be easier for you. So the worksheet is divided into rows and columns. That is a concept that probably you are aware of. I know some people are actually seeing it probably for the first time. It is important to understand that this Excel application that we are using here, the concept of Excel is actually narrowed down to these columns and to these rows. Without those, we don't have Excel. Excel, the power of Excel was actually engaged on that. Columns are labeled using alphabets, as you can see here, and rows are labeled using numbers. So that is the rows and the columns. Then sometimes when you're working with the columns, then that way I was saying that it is important that sometimes if you get time for those online students, it is always important to attend at least one physical class for a while. Because I found some problems with students. A student don't know how to adjust the column win. A simple activity, you don't know how to do that. And that one now becomes a problem because exam is about speed. And I'm very sure, and telling you this one for free, that if you are very slow, especially in handling these computers, then it will be very hard for you. Very, very hard. Indeed, that one is given for free because I've engaged with most students and some of them were very open that they only did the theory part. They never even attended any practical part. Time imeisha. So this is the paper that you can even know whether you may pass ama hujapass, because kama umefanya tu section A peke yake, that is not a pass. Actually, it's not a pass because that is 40 marks and you're not guaranteed that those 40 marks you have got it. So what does it mean then? Some activities you do here, you don't have to engage the mouse so much. Sometimes there are those activities that you can actually do with the keyboard. And this one, you can only detect when you see you do it. When you see it, you do it, then we can understand how we can help you do it better. So to adjust the column win can be done in two ways, either through dragging or you can highlight these cells. Maybe you are told that this worksheet is supposed to occupy a small part. Then you're supposed to compress it. So you can select several cells. Then under the home tab where you find all these tools, the tools, clipboard, the font, the alignment, the numbers. Then we have format that can help you to adjust the column win, several of them at once. So you can compress, say like you want this column win to be 8, all of them, and it makes your column, it condenses those columns. So that means you don't have to go do it one after the other. That is wasting time. So when you adjust that, then it becomes, now you can adjust that one so to make sure that your work actually fits on the paper. Because this work that you are actually running here is supposed to be presented on a paper. And the paper imefika hapo. So that means if you print, anything outside here is outside the paper. And this exam is printed first before it is taken to the marker. So what it means that if you have your work maybe not fit on the paper, then that one will be out of the printed copy. That's why CASNEP was recommending that if your worksheet was given above here, then do your working down there. That is what they are recommending. If you attended those workshops, that is what they insisted much on, that at least do your working there. If it cannot fit, go to the second worksheet and again do it on that particular area. So that is working with this. So the worksheet is actually divided into these cells. The columns and the rows make cells. If the cell is that unit that is created when the columns and the row intersect. So, and the concept of cells is actually what we use in our formulas. We have the cell naming, cell addressing. A cell address is the name of the cell. The name of the cell address. And the cell address is derived from its position, the worksheet. It comprises of the column letter and the row number. That is, every cell, regardless of how many cells we have here, has a unique address. The address of that cell that is now used in formulas. So, meaning, if this cell we have clicked here, cell E4, because it is in column E, row number 4, that cell that is selected is actually referred to as the active cell. The active cell. Active cell is the currently selected cell, the cell that is being worked on. And this cell is where data is entered. The name of this cell is always displayed above here in this box on the formula bar. Whichever cell you click, it shows the name of that cell above here. And the content of that cell is displayed on this bar. This bar is the formula bar. And this cell, this box here is the name box. That is the name box. So we have the name box, you have the formula bar. So when you have the formula then, for example, you have inserted a simple formula like net present value. Net present value. And that is our formula that we want to present in our worksheet. So we don't have the cell reference inside it. So the formula cannot proceed. Why? Because we have not given. We are looking for net present value for which cells. So when you are now setting up the cells, you are supposed to actually give the cell addresses. It is the net present value of a specific range of cells. So you don't type the numbers here, but you include the cell addresses. That means cell addresses is used in our formulas. It is used in our formulas. So that is, we need, every formula is interpreted. It is interpreted in that manner. So you have to use cell addresses. So the cell address, as we have seen, will comprise of the column letter, the row number, like that example. The active cell, that currently selected cell. Then data is entered in the active cell. Which type of data? We have 4 types of data that we enter in Excel. We have data in the form of labels. That is this data that is not necessarily used in calculation. This data is in form of alphabets, in form of numbers, or a combination of text and numbers. So that data, that is the labels, is normally used to name headings, columns, headings, or even rows, row heading or column headings. That is the labels. So sometimes you need to convert numbers into labels. And sometimes you need to autofill labels. So something about labels is that if labels are actually they are actually given in a particular sequence, you can actually autofill. For example, if you are entering data about employees, and you're supposed to give employees, every employee is given a unique address, a unique number, then you can say the numbers of these employees, employee 0001. That is a label. It is combination of text and number. So when you have these and you have like 1,000 employees, then you cannot go type it. That is wasting time. So you just need to click on that cell that has that label. Then from the corner of this cell, notice that you can highlight this cell from the center and drag. Or you can click this cell, and from the corner here, you can autofill. One advantage of using labels is that the labels can autofill. And this one makes your work easier. Autofilling does not only involve such numbers. Even some data that moves in a particular sequence. For example, the months in a year. You just need to type the first month, and then from there, you can autofill. Excel automatically fills this for you. So it makes your work easier when you are working with such data. So that is, most labels have a way of autofilling them. They have a way of autofilling. If you are typing the days, again, you just need to type the first day and you autofill, and Excel automatically fill the rest. So that makes your work more easier. And we talk of the shortcuts, not only the keyboard shortcuts. We have so many shortcuts that you can use in Excel that help you to enter data very fast and to process data very fast. But now, sometimes we are supposed to use numbers as labels, because we have said that labels comes in form of what? Alphabets, alphanumerics. Alphanumerics is like this form, which is combination of text and number. But sometimes you also need to use numerics, and these numerics are supposed to be used as labels. So one thing that you should not assume, Excel will not actually understand something like this. I want to use just a simple example, that here you are given data about sales. Probably these are sales for specific years. And here you have the years. Say like you have from 2015. I wish you can type that. So Excel will not autofill numbers. It will never autofill numbers unless you do something to make it autofill numbers. That is, if you do like the same way we did there, now you click here and drag, it will repeat that number. It will not actually increment. Why? Because you have not told it to increment. So if you want that number to increment, we have various ways of making the number to increment. Number one, you can write the next number in the sequence. Say like the next number is 2016. Then you can type there 2016. And you select the two cells. And now from there, you can increment those two cells. That is one way of incrementing the cell. So the other way of doing the same is using now the control key on the keyboard, that you can click on that cell, then without just dragging, you have to hold the control key. And when you hold the control key, you'll notice that this particular icon will have an added plus there. You have an added plus. And you can now drag, and it will increment that number up to the far that you want to get that number. So that is the second way of incrementing the cell. But sometimes incrementing is required when you are using big data. Take, for example, you are supposed to have numbers, maybe certain numbers starting from 1 up to 1,000. So we don't have time to go now holding the control key and dragging up to 1,000. So that means you have now to use the third way of incrementing. Now using the power of Excel here under the home. Under this last group here, we have the command called fill. That is, you can use that command called fill. So when you click there, fill, then you'll find fill series. And it's supposed to produce a dialog box, that dialog box for filling the series. So this fill series, now you can indicate, are you filling to the rows or to the columns? If you are filling to the column, you select the column. Then what is the step value? From the value you have here, the next value will have an increment of 1. So this is the incrementing factor. Then which will be the stop value? Probably our stop value is 1,000. 1,000. So when you type 1,000, you click OK. Then Excel automatically fill this one up to 1,000. That makes your work even more easier when you're incrementing the number. So you have those three ways of incrementing numbers. So you can use either to do that. When you're working with the simple data, you can just hold control and drag. But when you have very big, large set of data, then you have to use that fill command here. Then we are here discussing about labels and values. So when you have such data, then Excel really know that these are labels. So we have sales for January, for Feb, for March. So here you're supposed to have the sales for that 1 year. Probably in January, we had certain sales. Here we had certain sales. Here we had certain sales. So that is how you have arranged our data. Now, when you are working with analysis, you normally automate so that your analysis become an easier process. Like everywhere you are required to sum, then you can automate Excel to always auto-sum. That when you're given a piece of data, it always auto-sum. But if you're not careful, if you click auto-sum, you select auto-sum, Excel don't know that this was referring to years. So it will take even that one in your sum. And it will always give you the wrong data. So what does that one means? That sometimes when you're typing numbers, then you have to make Excel understand that these numbers are not just numbers. They are supposed to represent labels. And how do you do that? You can convert these numbers into labels when you are typing them. And this is normally done by first putting an apostrophe in your cell, the apostrophe on the keyboard. And then you type the number. If it is 2015, you type 2015. So when you press enter, the apostrophe will just disappear. And then leave your number as a label, indicating by that green label there, showing that this is the number, as you can see it, but it is a label now. And since it is a label, without even holding the control key, you can just drag and it will increment automatically. Because now Excel now understands that though it is in form of text, but now it is a number. It is in form of a number. It is in form of text. Though it is here is the number. So when you use now the auto sum, Excel will not take that number in its summation, because it actually understands that this is supposed to represent labels. So you can convert labels, you can convert numbers to labels by just doing that simple process. So that is something else you need to understand about the labels, that when you are given these numbers, then you need to convert them to labels. Then the values is that data that you enter in Excel, and you can apply this data in calculation. So the values, the numbers that you type, like here, we have typed the sales. We have typed these sales. You type them in this general number format. Then these sales are normally, or these numbers are supposed to be presented. They can be presented in form of what? In form of currency, form of percentage, and all the other format of numbers. But you should not type those symbols to represent the numbers in whichever format you want. For example, if someone wants to indicate that I want to have this number, $400. If you type that way, some people are afraid of doing this, and it is an error. This now is not a value. This is now a label, because you cannot use it in calculation. When you type that $sign, automatically, you have converted that number into a label. Because when you use this, for example, if you want to add these two cells, by using a simple formula, you say that I want to add this and this. Then it will not give you any value. It will give you an error. So anytime in your worksheet you find this error, Don't even ask anyone a question. Just go and find where you did such a mistake. Because somewhere you included a label in your formula, which is not possible. So then how do you need to achieve this? So you don't type those symbols. Instead, you're supposed to type the number. And once you type the number, then you format that number into the format that you want, because you are given the numbers. You are given this number to help you format the numbers. If you want to form your number in form of currency, you select the currency that you want. And that dollar sign will again appear, but now making this number a value, not a label. So you're not supposed to type those dollars or Kenya shillings. Don't type that. It should just appear automatically by setting up there. So another thing, if you are setting number to a percentage, another big issue. For example, you are told to give the percentage sales of January. Probably you're supposed to give the percentages here. So you are giving percentage sales. So to give the percentage sales, they are supposed to take this divided by this. So meaning that if you pick the sales of January, divide by the total sales. You know, manually we say that you have to multiply by 100 so that to make it percentage. If you do that one here, it will give you an error. You should not anywhere multiply this by 100. So once you obtain whichever sales you have found here, then you can now convert this number into percentage, and it will give you the percent of that sales. So that is formatting the values. You're supposed to use those formatting tools instead of typing those tools, because when you type them, then it gives you wrong output. So that is working with values. So you can format them into currency, into percentage, into date and times. Then when it comes to date, another big challenge. Maybe in front of this column, and I believe that now students can know how to work with the worksheet. For example, inserting another column. You can insert a column by just right-clicking on the column, then select insert. Then you have a column there. So when you are working with this, probably you want to indicate the date that a particular sale was made. So how do you record the dates? How do you type the dates? Before you type the date, you need to understand in which format that your computer is reading the dates. So different computers will read dates in different ways. So it is always important to check down here and find your computer read dates in which format. If it starts with the month, day, year, or it starts with the day, month, year, you have to identify first before you type the dates. So like, for example, my computer is reading dates starting from day, month, year. Day, month, then year. And I want to type in the dates here. Then it will be different, because if I use the format of month, day, year, for example, I want to type the date today, then I start with the month, which is January, then slash the date, then slash the year. What will happen when I do that? Notice something, that as we see this one, it looks like a date. But when you're using it now to process, especially to, we'll see some of the processing that you undertake, especially doing things like loan amortization, where you have to indicate the specific dates. Then this one cannot now be used because this is not a date. So how do you know that this is not a date? When you type in the labels, they are always aligned at the left side of the cell. But when you type the values, they are always aligned at the right side of the cell. If you check this date, it is aligned on this side of the cell. That means computer don't actually understand this as dates. So then what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to first understand your computer reads date in which manner. Like my computer starts with the day. So I'm supposed to start with the day here. Then I put the month. Then I put the year. And when I do that, then the computer now will understand that date. So, and by understanding the date, it means if I convert these two dates into long format, let's try to do that. If I select the two cells and I want to format these two dates using long format dates, because we have short dates and we have long dates. Then the first date you will not convert, but the second date will automatically convert to long dates. Then it will actually understand the date. So that means that is one way of actually setting up the date. When you are working with the values, especially the dates and times, it is important first to master or to know your computer. Probably it may be a bit hard to check from here, but an easiest way of actually understanding how your computer reads the date, you can use a simple function. This simple function, you can just type equals to, then type there today, equals to today. Then you open the bracket, you close the bracket. When you say is equal to today, then you press enter. Then computer automatically gives you the date in the right format. Kwa hivyo hata kama ilikuwa short date, then it will give you the date in the right format. And now you understand how your computer is reading the dates. So that is about the values in form of dates. So you have seen those values. They may come in form of currency, percentage, dates, or even times. It's important to enter the data in the right format. So the other type of data is formulas. Now this is where we will actually concentrate much on. The formulas, these are a mathematical expression. And the work of the formula is actually to establish a relationship between cells. The formula should always do that. It should help you to identify whether there is a relationship between the cells. For example, here we entered a formula here that is supposed to sum these numbers. So if the formula is supposed to add the numbers, then you should not use the cell values. You're supposed to use the cell addresses. That is what we said previously. That if you have this data, you have these numbers. We have just these numbers here. And you're supposed to get the sum of these two numbers. If you put a formula, say that I want to add 345 by 5678. Those are the numbers that you can see above here. This is a formula, yes, but it has not established the relationship between the two cells. That means the change of one of these cells will not change your formula. It will not change your answer. So this is something that sometimes is very, very common, especially when you start working with the big data. The student ameona that niki-involve the formula, it will give me the wrong answer. Then he does input the numbers manually. And that one, I found it there. It was actually so common. Then what the examiner will do is just to click on the cell where the answer is supposed to be. So probably I can show you this one, maybe using one of the question paper, solutions of one of the question paper that was done. And then you can actually understand what we are reading. Yes. Let me take one of these, like question 20, any question 21. This was the solution of question 21. so big. That was so big. Let's try to check all of them actually have that. 20 cash flow to be easier to understand because it's not that lengthy. You see this worksheet here? This is what the examiner will give you. Okay, but it is already given. You don't type this. It's already given. Your work is to prepare that cash flow for those years. But you don't just take these numbers for the format. You know the format of the cash flow. You already know the format, but you don't have to take this as you type them manually here. You do it using a calculator, then you come and type the answer here. That is very wrong. That is why then use Excel. So, but you should actually use the formulas that when I click here, I will see this was referred to what? It was referred to a value somewhere in cell, a particular cell. I'll actually see where that value actually came from. That is, I'm using now the cell addressing. So extracting that, and when you extract that, then it will help you to actually input your formulas there that will help you capture the data. Now, some students now were a bit funny because they know that maybe they missed a value here. Then what they do, they just come here, put equal sign, then type those values manually. And that one will actually be detected very easily because the examiner just need to click there and you actually know whether you actually referred to this data or not. So that way we are saying that when you are entering the formula, then you should always use that expression that shows the relationship between cells. Why then relationship between cells? Because when you establish the relationship between cells, then it makes your work easier. Because if, like this cash flow here, you are only supposed to prepare only one. You don't have to do this. You just need to prepare only this one by picking the cells in the right place, picking the cells, just picking the cells, entering the right formula. Then once you complete this, hata kama hauna hizi data zote, you don't even have to have them. But you'll be just dragging across. The computer automatically picks on the other side because the data was provided. But this is only when you present the right formula. When you present the right formula, that once you have the formula, just need to copy the data across. You click the data, you copy across. It you pick on the other side. If 800 was here, then automatically to know the other one is here. It you pick from here. And it makes your work very, very easy. You can imagine if you are doing it manually, it will take you a whole century working on the other one. But when you're doing this way, it becomes so easy. Why? Because of this, you are calling the formula. It's supposed to establish that relationship between cells. And this one, you have to do it through using these features of a formula that you should always start with an equal sign. The formula should have these operators. Use the cell addresses, not numbers, not the cell values. Sometimes we also use these signs on the keyboard. The greater than sign, the less than, the equal to, greater than or equal to, and not equal to sign. We use those values too. So, and we also use the cell referencing techniques. So, in our next lesson, we'll actually discuss more about references. And this one now will work with the data. And how do we work with this data? We said we want to bring everyone on board, whether you are proficient or not. And the only way to do this is starting from the basic parts. So how do we handle this? I want to show you a simple outline that you will be using to help you actually start from them, from the lowest, then advance even to the advanced level of Excel. So I've prepared this outline. And the work of this outline is actually, I've used 12 exercises. This exercise, every exercise has what it covers. So now considering there are those people who are very poor in Excel, and they have to know how to do these simple tasks. So do you know how to rename worksheets? How to insert, delete rows, change column wins, merge cells, format cells, kama ni kuformat font alignment, text wrapping, auto-filling of numbers. So that first exercise will help us to capture all that. So that is the first part. Then the next exercise will help us now to learn more about formulas. How do you enter in the formulas? So, and once you do that, then you'll be able to know whether a student is comfortable with that. Yes, before we proceed to the advanced level. Then the other one is working with functions. We said Excel has so many functions. Actually, the fourth type of data, that is the function. These are inbuilt formulas. They're already in Excel. We have classified them here. We have those that we use in statistics. We have those that we use in finance. We have other logical functions that we use to do the logical analysis, like the if function, the sum if, the count if. So, and this exercise will help us to capture those common functions. Then, the exercise 4 will help us to work with percentages. That is when you are given data in the form of percentages. Exercise 5, working with what if analysis, if the if functions, applying the auto format, the count if, inserting charts, working with absolute referencing. That is very common. Actually, this is referred to so much, especially when you are working with the big data. Kama sasa hiyo, that there are some certain occasions where the absolute referencing is a must. Because in some cases, you'll be required to refer to a particular value, where all these formulas or a number of formulas are referring to one value. Now, when it reaches there, then you don't have other ways but to make that cell that is referred by all formulas absolute. So that is what the absolute referencing will be all about. Then about the lookup, the function, the VLOOKUP, the HLOOKUP, then the scenario analysis and what if analysis. So those 12 exercises, we are actually going to go through them before we go to the advanced level. Because these are not advanced, they are just the basic Excel. So, and for anyone to go to the advanced, at least these one have to be on your fingertips. Have to be on your fingertips. So as you go through this, we are going to check on those parts. So I believe maybe you'll be able to enter this data. Maybe just a small exercise. You can just try to have the first exercise. Just easy. Just try to enter that data. Try to have this data in your worksheet. Open a new workbook, then you can have that data. Just the way it appears, just to check on, to remind yourself on the workbooks. So I've noticed most of you have finished, and I believe still that there are people who are still struggling with this data. So that is now the difference between now, and that's why I was saying that if you are very weak and you feel like you are very weak, then I would prefer that you attend at least a lesson, physical. The classes are physical. We have Wednesday and Friday. It is important at least you visit here in the college, then you can see how to help you. Can actually help you to improve the speed. So because that is a challenge, that piece of data is supposed to take a very few time when you are working with this data. On our next class, that is on Saturday, our platform will be a bit different from what you have done today. I believe that whatever we are capturing right now, we're just taking the this content, but on Saturday, whatever you are going to do is purely practical, and the practical will be sent on the group. That is, the question will be sent on the group. So you'll have them in advance before the class starts. So if you're able to print, it will be well and good. Then, if you're able to type them in advance, it will also be good. You not wait people to type because you don't have that time. I'll present the questions together with the typed data. So like Saturday, we can tackle like 3 or 4 questions. That data will be presented again on the group. You should know how you are going to download it. You download it from the group, then you store it in your computer so that once we start our lesson, we will not have to waste time waiting for people to type. Though that one now will be another challenge to those people who are poor in typing, because you should practice to type. You should practice how to type. But you don't have otherwise. We have to do that so that we save on time. So then the other thing, we'll have a platform of sending your results. However, once you finish, pale kwa Zoom, kuna way in which you can send back whatever you have done. So if you have like, we have like 47 members, when we say that now submit your results, we should see those 47 results submitted. Otherwise, it will not be interactive, because if you don't submit, then how will you know that you are doing it? So it will be better that once we say that we give every task a specific time of maybe time frame, then once you finish, you're supposed to submit that. So you can either use the WhatsApp group, or you can use the Zoom, but I prefer we use the WhatsApp, so that when you submit there, it will actually show even your name there, that so and so submitted his work. Then you'll be able to follow up. So why submit these results? It is important to submit, because it is only through that submission that I'll be able to know whether, if this is the format that you are supposed to actually capture this data and present it the way it is. You see, like the way this worksheet was here, if you are supposed to present this worksheet, how neat, the neatness of your work is very crucial, because some people will just do their working here, then maybe they have a small working here, another one here, another one. So that is the work that is not neat. That is, question A is presented on its own worksheet. You can see question A on its own worksheet. When you move to question B, again, it is on its own worksheet. And that working is actually shown very clearly. So it's only through submission of your work that you'll be able to guide you, and we can now tell you probably this one could have been done in a specific worksheet, instead of having everything in the same worksheet. Then it will help us to understand whether you can actually format your work properly. So that is the reason for submission of your work. So that is something that you need to actually understand. So again, through the submission of the work, you submit the Excel, not the picture, not that picture. You'll be submitting the Excel worksheet. Because when you submit the Excel worksheet, then I will check whether you actually use the right formula. For example, here in our first exercise, this first exercise was like this. And the Excel working was supposed to be like this. You see, like we have the breaking of cells. That if it is this, there is that breaking of cells so that you can maintain the same equal column width. Because somewhere you are told that all these columns should have an equal column width of a specific number. So to maintain that column width, then you have to use, probably this was around 12. And if you are to submit the column width with the equal width, it was 10, not 12. So if you put there 10, then it means you have to maintain, this, that you have to break these cells to occupy the two parts, that is to occupy this wrap text. Yes, so that is something else. Then when you insert the formulas, this is our calculation. You're supposed to calculate several things. The first one was the gross pay. And to get the gross pay for each employee, you have to provide a formula that multiplies the hourly rate by the hours worked. So, and how to achieve this is actually using a formula in that cell, in the cell DE4. So here, you enter in the formula that will help you generate that. That is, you can say, we say the formula must start with an equal sign. That you take the hourly rate by clicking there. When you put the equal sign, then the hourly rate, you just click there. Then you use the multiply sign, that is the asterisk. Then you multiply by the hours worked. You just click there. You don't have to type D4, you don't have to type C4. You just identify those cells by clicking on them. Then finally you press enter. And once you do this, now you can copy down that formula in your worksheet. That is what we will start from there in our next lesson, something we call relative referencing. Relative referencing. That relative referencing is a way of actually copying down the formula, where the formula keep on changing depending on the position of the worksheet. That you just need to provide the first formula. And once you provide the first formula, then from the corner here, you can copy down the formulas to get the other answers. So why have to copy this? Because the first formula will refer to these cells, the immediate left. And the next formula again will refer to the immediate cells on the left. And all of them will actually give you the correct value because all of them are referring to the immediate formulas in the left. So that means the first formula, when copied down, will keep on changing depending on that position. So the tax was given as 6%. This social security tax was given as 6% of the gross pay. So that means our formula here will actually use that. You say that is equal to 6% of its times of the gross pay, Then from there, again, you can press enter, click in that cell, and copy down that formula in your worksheet. So when you do that, then you'll be able to actually compute the rest. Then finally, we have the net, where the net is actually the gross minus the tax. And when you do this, again, you copy down the formula, and within a very short time, you have already prepared that payroll system, that simple payroll by dragging or including our formulas there. So that was just a simple warm-up, and that is what we'll concentrate much on Saturday. So today we are going to wind up at that far. So our next lesson will be on Saturday starting from 6 p.m. That is the online class. But tomorrow we will have the physical class, which we said that in case you feel like you really have problem with the practical part and you can get time to come here in the college, then we'll encourage that. You don't have to carry your laptop. We have enough computers here. So if you feel like it is risky to come with your machine, just come. We will provide the machine. So you need to, if you feel that maybe you cannot, where maybe you are very far and you cannot come here in college, then you need to have a software. This software called TeamViewer. You can download that TeamViewer. TeamViewer is actually, it is an open source software. So when you download the TeamViewer, then you'll be able to connect to your machine and we can help you one-on-one. But that cannot be done in class time. Probably when you are free, maybe you can connect. You can always connect and we check maybe whether we will be able to help you. But don't just sit there behind and umenyamaza tu, then you are just wondering what is happening. Because most of our classes will be practical. It is important. If you feel like it is, you have a challenge, then try both. Either you come to the physical class at least just once in a week, or if you are very far away, then download that software called TeamViewer, and you'll get time when you can connect. We can connect to your machine and help you where possible. So today we are going to wind up our lesson there. So see you on Saturday, that practical class. If you have a question, you can raise your question in the group, or you can just chat there Just write your chat there in the Zoom.